What's going on? It's Alante, and we are back doing the third Deviants Factions tutorial for trigger mechanics. So we can actually learn what some of these things mean and make sense of a little bit of the chaos that happens when we're battling and give ourselves a better, one-up. So we're gonna go over Riot, Swap, Obey, Frighten, and Heal. Yeah, I'm excited now that I'm learning a little bit more when these tournaments come and my deck gets ready. I'll be racking up. Okay, trigger mechanics. Trigger mechanics correspond to those abilities that wait for an event and play to respond in a special way. In this tutorial, we will review each of them. This tutorial starts with an already developed table and advanced game. We are in the dev step and we are going to enter the fight step. We have paused the game so that we can explain what will happen when we move on to the fight step. Click on Lenny Ball so that you can see his card in detail. Lenny Boy. As you can see, Lenny Boy's second ability is triggered by the start of the fight step. The effect says if there's an owner ally in slot 1, frighten their rival. When a character is frightened, he tries to run away, leaves his place in the formation, and tries to get to a safety after the last of his companions. Lenny Frighten's ability depends on the start of the fight step, which is at this moment. Lenny's text box says, fight step. If there's an owner ally in slot 1, frighten their rival. The character found in slot 1 is Johnny Patriot. As Johnny is an owner character, then Lenny's ability will work. Owner is the red. Lenny Frightens. Next we will see how Lenny Boy uses his Frighten ability against Aaron. Because it says from his, slot 1. Remember that combats occur one at a time, starting with the first column where Johnny Patriot is located. Before Johnny and Patriot attack, let's see what he's up to. Click on him to get a closer look. Johnny too has two abilities. Johnny has two abilities. The first one is conditional and having an HQ owner, so it won't work in this game. The second skill has only one trigger to attack. Johnny's text box reads, attack. The foe with the highest attack obeys. The ability depends on the trigger, attack. That means that his effect will be triggered immediately after he attacks. That a character obeys means that he is sent to the first position of his formation. Let's see how it happens once Johnny has attacked. Okay, sends him back to the first slot, right here. Before end step, all the fighting has occurred column by column. It is time to move on to the end step. Remember that there are abilities whose triggering event is the beginning of a particular step. Such is the case of the Kusov hold. Click on your HQ for a closer look. End step. If general planning is 0, your most wounded ally heals 12. Kututsov hold has a trigger skill whose triggering event is end step. This ability says end step. If the general planning is 0, your most wounded ally heals 12. When a character is healed, he recovers the amount of life. In this case, it is Ava Nasseri who will receive a healing of 12 HP points. Exit the viewer so we can check who else has an ability that can be triggered by entering the end step. There's another card on the table that has an ability that depends on the same trigger as your HQ. Click on Vasir to see him in detail. Vasir view. Vasir has two abilities. The second ability consists of a condition, a triggering event, and an effect. Slot 1 end step swaps with the ally to his left and deals 15 damage to the leftmost foe. The condition slot 1 is filled if Azir is in a slot 1 beyond the first one. This is slot greater than. So this is fulfilled since Fazir is in slot 2 of his formation. His triggering event, end step, is about to occur. The effect of his ability says swaps with the ally to the left and deals 15 damage to the leftmost foe. Swapping with another ally means that this character swaps position with that ally. Let's continue with the turn and see how it works. There are multiple triggers. There are 2 cards in play that are triggered by entering the end step. The first criterion applied to know which card resolves the first is position. Kutuzof Hold has an earlier position, so it resolves first. Next, you'll see how Kutuzof Hold heals Ava, and then Fazir switch positions with Aaron. It's so much that goes into this, so you really have to pay attention to the cards you have in your deck. And your opponent has so many things that are going to cause things to move around. Possibly. Who are PRC? The opponent has played Pershmerga or Rebel Cell. Click on that card so we can see what we're up against. PRC has a triggered ability that depends on the arrive event. This means that this ability is triggered the first instant its card is on the table without planning. The ability to be triggered from PRC says Riot's 1 to the right. To riot in some direction is to move in that direction on the board, taking into account only the slots occupied by your allies. If you reach a side limit by counting, you continue the counting from the opposite end. When a card riot, it occupies its new position, pushing the rest of its allies to the right. Closes viewer to see how it works. Had to push all the way, there was no open slots. End of tutorial. Remember that you can review the manuals on our website to know what each condition and trigger means. And that concludes the end of the 3rd tutorial where we learn trigger mechanism. And that concludes the ending of the 3rd tutorial where we learn. And that concludes the ending of the 3rd tutorial where we learned trigger mechanisms. Thank you and tune in for the last and final 4th tutorial.